We can't go back and undo what grandma did.
He says, need some advice, and we are in need of a rate increase. Problem is, it'll be over 10% for some customers.
Definitely do a price increase. You need to have a plan for price increases.
For example, some customers are paying $30 a month, and that price hasn't been touched in 10 years and was given to them by my grandma.
You said that a lot of your customer base is 15 years plus. Having that type of customer base and loyalty, you can't really put a price tag on that. But what type of company are you? Are you a discount pest control service that you do an outside spray and you take off? Don't try to catch up the last 50 or 15 or however many years it's been this year.
You're listening to the Bug Bucks Podcast, hosted by Alan Draper and Eric Bassett.
Welcome to the Bug Bucks Podcast. This is Eric Bassett, and I'm here with Alan Draper as always. How's it going, Alan?
What's up, Eric? Just living the best bug life I can.
I know, right, dude? The weather is getting warmer out here. I'll do my little Eric Bassett weather update like I always do. I should have been a weatherman in another life. That's what I really should have done.
Yeah.
Oh man, we just a quick reminder for those of you who are listening and you are not part of our Facebook group, join. I promise you guys are missing out. It's Bug Bucks on Facebook, BUGBUX. Closing on like 3,300 members in that Facebook group. Awesome community, lots of great answers. Speaking of the Facebook group, I think we've got some giveaways coming up. Alan, what do we got that we're giving away?
Yeah, so by the time this episode airs, we should have completed March's giveaway, and we'll be working on April's. And for both months, we're actually giving away a B&G along with some products. So in a package. So great value. I think the giveaway value is north of $500 per month. So and I'm actually not exactly sure what we're doing in terms of the competition or the challenge or whatever. But if you come across those in our Facebook group, make sure to join those. Throw your hat in the ring for these great products and supplies, equipment, whatever we're putting together from some vendors that are donating this stuff. So make sure to check that stuff out. These are from, if I remember correctly, these are being donated by the Saris. So make sure to check those out. Make sure to join our group so that you can be a participant in those competitions and things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of good stuff. And especially for the guys, if you're early on, I mean, some of the giveaways that we have are things that you probably are looking to buy or desperately need. So sure. Lots of good stuff. Today, we're going to cover a couple of questions, or maybe one question for this episode from our Bug Bucks group. And I'm going to read it out here because I like reading this word for word. I think it's fun. And then Alan will get you a little crack at it, and then I'll kind of go back and forth here. So credit to Preston Frederick for this question. He says, need some advice. We have been in the business for almost 50 years. Nearly 50% of our customers have been pest customers for 15 plus years. We didn't do a great job of raising rates over the last 5 years, and we are in need of a rate increase. Problem is, it'll be over 10% for some customers. Are we silly to do that big of an increase? For example, some customers are paying $30 a month, and that price hasn't been touched in 10 years and was given to them by my grandma. So I just love that he obviously has an awesome family business going on down there. But what do you think, Alan? You want to take the first crack at this one?
Yeah. So, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today, right? That applies to price increases. And this is a perfect example. Preston gave us a perfect example of why you need to have a plan for price increases. Now the situation that Preston's in and all of us to some extent has been exacerbated by inflation, right? The prime rate just changed a couple of weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's an 8% prime right now. Money's tougher to get at. If you do get it money, it's costing more. They're trying to kind of balance out some of the inflation that we're experiencing now with increased rates. Those increased rates haven't had the effect that they thought they would, so we're still experiencing some of that. So Preston, we can't go back and undo what grandma did. And I'm sure she did some really awesome things. You know what? You said that a lot of your customer base is 15 years plus. That's incredible. That, having that type of customer base and loyalty, you can't really put a price tag on that. But as for-profit entities, we're required to, right? We have to figure out how to make sense of all this. Now, my biggest suggestion to Preston would be, don't try to fix what wasn't done in one fell swoop. 10%'s not crazy. And I don't really know. Did he say what market he's in, Eric?
He didn't. Yeah, I wish he did. I should.
Yeah, why don't you check out and see where he's located? Because he said something about $30 a month, which is for how we price stuff, that seems pretty low. $30 a month is about $360 a year. Sounds like he's on a subscription basis with these customers, so that's great. One of the reasons why subscription-based pest control companies are really nice is you can do a small price increase and it doesn't change it, because now the payment's divided by 12 versus divided by 4, 3, 6, whatever. So you definitely need to increase something. I think based off of your customer base, a 10% isn't crazy. I try not to increase more than 8% in a given time frame. But that being said, we increase prices every year on a third of our customer base, so that our customers experience a price raise only once every 3 years, but we're raising prices on somebody every single year. And that allows us to adjust to market conditions. So there's two types of price raises. Did you find out where he's located, Eric?
It doesn't show, and he actually
Okay.
doesn't have it showing up on his profile either. So power to you, Preston, for keeping all your stuff secret.
Yeah. Keep staying incognito there. Regardless of the market, I think, he's going to be on the low end, which, I think there's some theory and some philosophy that goes into pricing a little bit. It's not always about break even. Break even analysis is really good as a starting point, but I think your pricing is an inherent part of your culture. What type of company are we? Are we a premium service? Do we pay our people extremely well? Do we use the best products? We were actually, we were preparing for this episode, looking at the giveaways that I just mentioned for March and April. And one of those products is incredibly, incredibly expensive. So are you, and it reminds me of this thing that I've said before, that you either need to be one of the most expensive companies or one of the least expensive companies, and you stay out of the middle. You don't really want to target that. But so there's a lot of moving parts. Kind of my brain's getting, I'm skipping and hopping all over the place. So there's this philosophy. So, Preston, when you're talking about your price increases, what type of company are you? Are you a discount pest control service that you do an outside spray and you take off? Or is it we'll do a full interior, we're checking stations, we're guaranteeing a long list of pests? And so, take that in consideration. But number one point, Eric, in my opinion, don't try to catch up the last 50 or 15 or however many years it's been this year. Don't do it. Definitely do a price increase. I don't think 10% is crazy. If it's $30 a month, that's $3 a month, $360 a year. That's $36. I don't think it's crazy. But be more methodical about it and don't let this amount of time pass again without price increases.
No, 100%. And I agree with you. We've been doing price increases for last 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to highlight something, some of you guys that are listening might be thinking, why, how do people find themselves in this position? Right. And for a lot of people who are just starting out in pest control, when you're thinking about how to market your products and services, here's something that you want to avoid. So you're probably thinking about things from a customer perspective, and you're like, man, what would I love as a customer from my pest control company? And you're like, man, I want my technician to call me when he's on his way, and I want them to have really easy access for making payments. And you're thinking about all these different convenience things. And maybe the thought crosses your mind, man, it would be so awesome if I never raised my prices on my customers. Like, customers would value that a lot, right? And we made the big mistake in the beginning of telling our customers that. And we let our door team tell our customers that, hey, we'll never raise your price and yada, yada, yada. And this obviously, come full circle, has come back to bite us in the butt. So we had a lot of customers from the beginning, and we went really heavy door to door from the get-go. So a lot of customers from 2013, when our first year, were way underpriced. And it just happens, like pricing changes over the course of a decade a lot. And so we're stuck with all these customers that we told we would never raise prices on, and they were way underpriced. So it was a similar situation to Preston's, where we had this big part of our customer base that even a 10% increase wouldn't even come close. We're basically to the point on some of these customers where we were very less than what we would consider the profitability that we want for these people. So long story short, what I was going to say is, don't let yourself fall into the trap of having that philosophy. Don't say, hey, we're not going to raise our prices. Don't pitch that to your customers. Don't use it as a selling point. Don't do any of those things, because you are just holding yourself back in the future from being able to deliver on the kind of service, the quality of service your customers need. I have a couple of logistical thoughts on what we did when it came to that. So Preston, there's a couple things you can do. And I commented on this post in the Facebook group. So if you guys want to read a little bit more of the specifics, you can check out that comment. But how we handled it is that we ran a report that showed us all of our customers and all their prices, how much they're paying. And we grouped them all into how many customers are paying what amounts, right? And we had set a particular standard. We said, hey, like customers that are below this point, and it was like $99 a quarter, I think is what we set. We said any customers that are below this point, we really should get up to that point. We should get them up to 99, right? And so the first price increase we actually did was just on all the customers that were 98 and less per quarter. And there was like, I don't know, a couple thousand of them, I think, something like that. And so we sent out a price increase letter and an email communication to all of them that explained, hey, over the course of these many years, we've never promised to be the cheapest pest control, but we've always promised to deliver the most value. Prices have gone up, et cetera, to continue delivering the pest control that you deserve. We need to bring our services up to this minimum standard, right? We also told them that in our market, that price was still far below our competitors, just to kind of give them some perspective, right? And then we sent those out, and we had a decent amount of cancellations. It was still probably less than, 3-4%. And it allowed us to clean out a lot of the lowest paying customers. Ridiculously low. And it allowed us to make room for the new customers coming in that are going to be paying more. And then after that, in years after that, that's when we started incorporating a simple percentage-based, price increase for our whole customer base. And we do it on our entire customer base every year, but I actually really appreciate what you said, Allan, where it seems like you're kind of picking groups of customers and doing like a price increase rotation every few years. Is that right?
Yeah. So the way we do it is obviously our first year customers with us, they're under contract. So we're not changing the rate on those folks. We do it based off of that cycle, based off of when they started with us. So they're not starting this year, but they are going to be bumped up next year with the people that also got a price raise 3 years ago. So there's 3 groups Well, technically there's 4. There's this year's customers, then there's, 1, 2, 3, but this year's customers joins, one of those 3 groups. And, it's an interesting issue, because some people could say, well, it's possible for you to have next door neighbors where one got a price increase and the other didn't. And I think if you're strategic enough with it, it happens on a regular cycle and it's nominal. It's in the 3 to 5% range. It's not going to come up. It's really not. And I wanted to touch on cancellations really quickly, because this is one thing that makes people nervous. It makes us nervous. Hey, I don't want to lose my customers. And I totally get that. I, have that same thought process. Here's the clincher, is that if you raise your prices in a particular group by 8% and you lose somewhere less than 8% of those people, you're still ahead. And not only are you ahead in top line revenue, right? Like, okay, if I raise 8% and less than 8% cancel, top line revenue is going to hold the same or get better, right? Which is the entire goal. But then you have a bunch of variable costs that aren't going to be there. You're going to have fewer customers to service. And if your variable costs in most companies between 30 and 50%, you don't have those expenses anymore. Now, this is not me saying you want to lose customers. This is me saying this is the worst case scenario. And this is how it needs to be approached. Here's another thing that I've mentioned before on the show, is that if you do it the right way, you'll lose very, very few customers. We lose very few. And I'm talking about like one customer per raise. And it's usually only because of the communication reminded them, oh, I'm selling my house. Oh, this is my dad's moving in with me, whatever, right? Elderly father moving in with me. It's usually that bump that a route reminder, any type of cross-selling would have the same effect. Because if someone has this adverse reaction to a price raise, email or however it's communicated to them, most of them will call in to cancel, right? Or email or some form to say they want to cancel. You immediately backtrack. And I do this same thing. We do this same thing with late fees. We have late fees, and it's kind of related, but not the same exact topic. We have late fees for one reason and one reason only: to collect what was originally due. As soon as somebody calls in and they mention the late fee, they get their original payment taken care of. Hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and waive that late fee. I know things happen. They feel like they just got something. It's the same concept with cancellation for a price raise. Someone calls in. Yeah, I noticed that you raised the price on me. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. We have the script. Yeah, we do this regularly. We just want to make sure that we're paying our people well, making sure that we're staying on top of things, inflation, whatever the script is for that season of time. And then we say, hey, you know what, Susan, what we're going to do, because you've been with us for a few years, we're going to grandfather you in at your current rate for one more year. We're just because you were kind enough to call us and, tell us about your concerns, and we're listening. We're going to grandfather you in at your current rate for the next year. Now, here's the thing. Next year, Susan, we are going to have to increase your rate. How does that sound? And again, just like with late penalty, and our late penalties are very nominal. They're a few bucks, like max $15. Like they're a few bucks most of the time. Susan's going to get it off the phone saying, oh, okay, like I talked him into decreasing my, right? Feels like she got something. And then she sees that price increase a year later, and she's like, oh, okay, I knew that one was coming. The kicker is that there are so few people that will call. Pest control is our life, right? This is like, we talk about it all the time. These are our companies. This is what we care about. Pest control to most people is the last thing they want to think about. They're busy with their work, with their kids, with their family. I mean, if they see, spiders or something in their kid's bedroom, that's different. That's going to be at the top of their mind at that point. But generally speaking, it's not, people, that's just not part of their daily lives. So most people, they're going to get an email from a pest control company and they're going to delete it. not even open it. Sometimes they'll open it, they won't really read it. So we've noticed that with regular price increases, most people don't care. They just don't care. And the few that do, have a process in place for them.
Oh, 100%. And I wanted to touch on a few things that you mentioned, which I think are awesome. And the first thing is profitability when it comes to price raises. So I just want to touch on this one more time. As soon as you click that button, if you were to go into your CRM and you say, hey, I want to raise prices on, let's say, just 5% across the board. As soon as you click that button, that 5% price increase is pure profit.
Exactly.
Like nothing else in your operation changed, it's pure profit.
Exactly.
And even if we send, sometimes we print some letters and send some communications, and it takes a little bit extra time for staff and stuff. And, I order food for the office staff, and, we kind of make it a big event so that they feel good about it. Even if I were to take some of those costs out of the profit, right? Dude, it's still pure profit.
Mm-hmm.
And guys will think, oh, well, what about the customers that do cancel? And you have to remember that the customers that usually cancel during a price increase, those are usually, let's say, a lot of them are your problem customers anyway.
Exactly.
The people who are struggling with the value, the people who don't understand the philosophy of paying good money for good service.
Mm-hmm.
And those are going to be replaced by customers who will, like new customers who are going to be paying the new customer prices, right? And dude, it's just way better. It's way healthier for your pest control company. Think of it as like pruning a tree or pruning a plant. Like it needs to happen. It's a natural thing, right? So that's one thing I just wanted to touch on. And another thing is, dude, just like Allan said, if you plan your price increases, the first couple, like the first one or two that you do, those are going to affect your customer base the most because they aren't expecting it. Right. Mm-hmm. It's not something they're used to, especially if you were like us and you were in business for a long time. You have this big loyal customer base and they've never experienced it. But once you start doing it year over year and they get used to it, you end up weeding out the people who don't share that philosophy, who pay less. And you end up keeping the people who do share that philosophy, and they're happy to pay a little bit more every year to keep a good service. And I think we did our price increase for 2023 here in April, I think end of March, beginning of April. And after a week, I forgot that we even did it. It was so little of an impact. And my office staff did a phenomenal job with the few customers that did call in. But you just got to remember that not all your customers are the squeaky wheels, some customers are going to complain about it, but the vast majority of your customer base are not even worried about pest control and how much it costs. It's like I got an email from Disney Plus the other day, or I can't remember when it was, and it was like, hey, we're raising our rates from I don't even remember. I couldn't tell you how much Disney Plus cost me because I don't care. It's great, right? Raise it to whatever you want. Disney Plus, Netflix, yeah, dude, pile it on. It doesn't matter to me because a few dollars a month, dude, come on. So you just got to remember that most of your customers are going to share that same philosophy if you are planning your price increases properly.
Yeah. I love this idea of these customers that have an issue with the price raise self-selecting and them showing us there are certain things you can do with employees along those same lines. We use a very hands-off approach where we want people to take accountability for whatever their job description is. And folks that need to be micromanaged, they self-select. And it takes a very short period of time for us to realize, okay, we made a mistake in hiring. No harm, no foul. We're going to let this individual go. It's the same way. It's the customer telling us, hey, maybe this isn't the right fit. I'm going to tell a quick story as we wrap up here. I'm taking golf lessons right now. And I was having issues with it's kind of a startup business. There's 3 people. The guy that owns the company is a golfer, right? He's not really a business guy. He's a golfer. That's why he's in it. And that's a lot of us too in pest control. We started as door-to-door sales reps or exterminators, became owners. But I called him and I told him like, hey, it's just not working out. Like I'm not seeing progress in my what I'm doing, my golf game, things like that. And this guy, he was throwing everything at me to save me. So much so that I got to the point where I asked him, I'm like, hey man, just curious, like, because I can be kind of a tough customer sometimes, like very demanding, especially if it's something about myself, self-improvement, whatever. I'm like, just curious, like, why do you want me to stay? Like, because I can be kind of high maintenance. I'm telling him this. I'm like, I can be high maintenance. I have really high expectations for myself. And he's like, I just don't want you to leave thinking that we can't help you with your golf game. And I'm still with him, right? Like, so I think there's 2 points to that. One, that is a really good approach to somebody that's trying to cancel if you really want to save them, right? It's like, hey, I want you to have a good experience with us, which is really, really important in customer service. The other thing is only time will tell if I'm actually of benefit to this golf coach. Only time will tell. He may have made a mistake in terms of, I'm not going to blast him online or anything, but in terms of me maybe not renewing next year or whatever the case is. So a lot of times when you're going through price raises and people call you, and a great way to get a sense of this is how are they treating you or your reps while they're complaining or bringing up the issue of the price raise. That's a really good barometer. If the phone calls something like, hey, Becky, I've been with you for several years. Things are a little tough for us. Is there any way we can only do like maybe half of the rate, something like that, versus last month you guys came out and you did this and that and whatever, right? I think it's a great barometer for knowing when to push really hard, like my golf coach pushed incredibly hard. 30, 45-minute conversation would not let me get off the phone, versus, you know what? We're always going to be here for you. If you need us in the future, you know how to contact us type thing. So, and I think a lot of this, Eric, goes back to the perspective and the philosophy of your business. How are you going to price your services and what type of business are you? I think price raises are incredibly important, and there's at some point we should do an episode about break-even analysis, get into the accounting a little bit more of the details. We talked a lot about philosophy and strategy today, but kind of head that direction. So I think that's something we could tee up one of these days. So cool, man. Well, great episode. We'll wrap up here with folks that are listening. Make sure that you join our Bug Bucks group, BUGBUX on Facebook. We have giveaways there. And there's this new thing I'm hearing about called Bug Bucks Plus. Eric, Hunter, and I, we've teamed up, and we're creating some really valuable resources for folks that are exclusively wanting, like folks that are specifically wanting to start and scale their pest control company. We're going to be developing some really good tools for people that fall into that category. So stay tuned for that. That's coming sometime this summer. So yeah, we'll leave you with that. Join our group. If you have comments, let us know in our Facebook group. What episodes should we have? What are some of the topics we should be talking about? And the best way to pay it back for us creating this content is to leave us a 5-star review on any platform that you listen to this on. And we'll catch you next time.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us a 5-star rating. Thank you, and we'll catch you on next week's episode.